Welcome to the TaiSpeak podcast on TaiSpeak.com. TaiSpeak brings you inspirational conversations with dynamic leaders of business, music, sports, and faith. After 20 years in the music business, building lifelong fans, I'm ready to bring the lessons I learned to you and your business. I want to help you market like a rock star. Shoot me an email at tai@taispeak.com and I'll get back to you within the day. I appreciate your social shares and I'm humbled that you're taking the time to listen. This is TaiSpeak. Welcome to TaiSpeak, episode number 23. In this episode, I sit down with Germaine Moody. Now, Germaine is a hard guy to describe. Why? Well, he isn't just one thing. Here's a little snippet from his LinkedIn profile. A universal conduit of greatness, game changer, visionary, idea generator, and world motivator, Germaine lives with a personal mission to empower and revive the spirit of genius in all people. You see, Germaine is an author, a networker, a speaker, an entrepreneur, and in our conversation, we'll talk about how to develop and fine-tune your personal brand and how so many of us are approaching networking the wrong way. This is TaiSpeak. All right, well, we are here today with my new friend, Germaine Moody. Germaine has driven up to our offices here at LeaderCast, where we're building leaders worth following. And I think Germaine and I we connected maybe even over a year ago on LinkedIn. He is one of the foremost LinkedIn experts, connectors in our city. And just a guy he's just built this incredible personal brand and is out there having influence in our city and making the world a better place. So it's an honor to have you here today, Germaine. Thank you so much for making the trip.
Tai, thank you for having me, man. This is pretty awesome. Just being here with you is really great.
Well, thank you. We share some interests, so many interests. Yeah. But so you are someone that you actually put on your own event, a pre-Grammy party here in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. That's become like one of the just sort of foremost music events in our cities. This great time of networking. So maybe you could even start a little bit about that on just kind of what you do, what your background is, and I want to get to know you.
Okay, well, cool. Back in 2009. I was invited to a networking event in Los Angeles, but I was in Atlanta working, and I had to direct a music video, and I was really upset that I couldn't attend that particular event. So what I did, I contacted the host, and I asked him, how do you bring all these amazing people together at your event? And I did a 5-minute phone call with him. He told me exactly how he did it, and within about 36 hours, I started building a website. And I just started, marketing my own events. And from there, I started my event company, which was called Germaine Moody Events at the time. And this was late 2009. Around Grammy time, 2010, I decided to just bring the music industry together, entertainment industry together. We started in Los Angeles, actually. We did 2 events in LA. We did 1 in Chicago. And for the last 4 years, we've done our pre-Grammy event here in Atlanta. And I really wanted to do something for the people here because a lot of the artists and actors and performers, they don't have a chance to get over to Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. So I want to bring them together to network because you and I both know relationships is the key in the entertainment industry. So we've been doing it. It's been extremely successful. The entire city comes out. And I've decided to invite other industries that aren't in entertainment to come out. So it's pretty much the biggest networking event of the year.
That's awesome. Because, in Atlanta, obviously what you can't miss is the film industry is just blowing up.
Oh, yeah.
But what an incredible, it's kind of like the cousin to music. Mm-hmm. Go watch your favorite movie and take away the soundtrack and you're just not going to feel the same, right?
Not gonna feel it.
Music it just brings the emotion to everything. Mm-hmm. But I think what a lot of people would miss is, for the Grammys, it's like it sells out almost instantly. It's really expensive, and not to mention even trying to get there, and they have to reserve tickets for the actual nominees. Mm-hmm. So there's so many people that participate in music, that want to participate in music, that this is like our Super Bowl with the Grammys. But you've created a way for them to really celebrate the occasion, but also to get to know each other.
Absolutely.
Which, but in that you're serving an audience that you have the people on stage that are often the outspoken extroverts, right? At least the lead vocalist.
Right.
But what I think people don't understand is that the music community is actually full of a lot of creative introverts.
Right.
And so you've created an event to get everybody out of their studios, out of hiding, to actually put on some nice clothes
Yeah.
and to come hang out. Tell us, now that you've done this for a few years, has your event been a catalyst to help make connections and build relationships that's turned to great things for people?
Man, absolutely. I mean, artists have gotten record deals. People are in films and commercials, and they get agents and publicists. I mean, people come. My pre-Grammy event is all about networking. I don't even let people sit down. You have to come there and be prepared to network, because that's the only way you're going to get to where you want to get to in this industry. You have to know people, and so we have a tremendous amount of people who contact us after the event, telling me, all the great things that they accomplished at the event, the people they met. So it's been a real big success.
I want to ask you for some advice on networking, just for our listeners and whoever's paying attention. But I think a lot of times when people think about networking, it's a very transactional thought. They go, okay, I have to go to this event. So right away they're using the wrong words, right?
Right.
You need to say it's a get to, not a have to. But
right.
Okay, so I have to go to this networking event. And then my goal is to meet as many people so that I can create business opportunity. How do you look at networking? Do you have, and I know you've written a book on networking. So yeah. I want to know just kind of some of your principles. What's the right way to network?
Networking is crucial, especially right now. There's no real job security, and the majority of the doors that open in your life will be opened by some person, someone. So you obviously need to network in that sense. As far as going to a networking event is vital, because with technology these days and social media, you never know who's connected to who. So the next person you meet could be the person to open that door that you really need in your life. If you're online, and the best advice I can give someone as far as how to network or how to break the ice is to approach someone and inquire about how can you be of assistance to them, to help them. I've learned that when you reach out to people and try to help them and try to be a part of what they're doing, they're more open to allowing you to come into their life and into their circle. And next thing you know, you have this wide variety of new people to meet. And that can go as far as your local city. It can go as far as across the country or around the world. And that's what I've done through my network. I've networked from person to person, from city to city, country to country, and it honestly becomes unlimited. That's what's so important. I think if there's anyone that isn't networking right now, you're going to miss out in the future, because it's vital. It really is vital.
So something you talked about is starting by seeing what you can do for someone else.
Right.
And this is how I think. This is the simple metaphor for my simple mind of how I think about networking. I just think in any relationship, I use the metaphor that it's a bank account, that you have relational equity. And what I look at it is, so when we start with networking, when we meet someone new, we need to be making deposits,
right?
Or else we're going to very quickly overdraw that account. And I think
that.
what a lot of people in the music business, especially, so as kind of my role with serving on the Atlanta chapter for the Recording Academy, people will reach me, and if they instantly are asking me for something, I'm like, I don't know you,
right?
I can't vouch for you,
exactly.
I can't connect. But when someone meets me, and it's not about pandering, it's not about flattery, but when someone meets you and they genuinely are just sewing into you, asking how they can serve,
absolutely,
then it changes the dynamic completely. So I think just start serving, and I think that's some incredible wisdom there when it comes to networking. And I know it's hard for people. I want to say that with empathy, because I think for a lot of people, like say somebody is, not in the music industry. Let's just say they're looking for their next job.
Okay.
it's very easy for them to look at LinkedIn and just go, someone, they connect with me. Now, how can I ask them for help? Because they're in a desperate place.
Right.
So what advice would you give to someone, just regardless of industry, that, is looking for their next opportunity?
Well, I do recommend LinkedIn highly, first and foremost. What the best advice, as far as if you're in a desperate situation, you should look for a networking event, in my opinion, that caters to the industry that you want to get your next job in. There's so many different meetups. There's so many different social groups. One thing about taking your life to the next level, like I said earlier, you're gonna have to meet people to do that. Every door is opened by another person, so you have to put yourself out there. You can't just sit home and expect things to happen. The more visible, and that's a part of marketing. When you're looking for another job, you yourself, you have to market yourself, and you have to use every vehicle and every avenue to do that. So I would suggest getting online, uh, looking for different groups that are meeting up, because, like I said, you never know who's going to be at this particular event. You never know who's going to be in this particular group until you show up, until you start mingling and talking to people.
So, and then once you're there, now we plug in the advice that you shared before, that once you're at a networking event,
Hmm.
you can't, if you project desperation into the marketplace, you're going to be very unattractive.
Right.
So you go to
Just
this
get to know
event,
people.
you
Yeah.
just get to, and with the genuine, one of my favorite quotes from Stephen Covey, leadership expert, is seek first to understand, then be
Hmm.
understood.
Yeah.
So it serves you well in life when, if you go meet people at a networking thing, how people connect when they feel heard.
Mm.
And so it's just like any relational advice. This is good dating advice. It's good networking advice.
Right. Right.
You go in there if you're genuinely interested in the other people, and even
Hmm.
if you're in a moment, if you can put that to aside, put your personal desperation aside, and just go, man, okay. And what I like to say is God. I like to make it a spiritual thing, just
Hmm.
as because, and I don't say that because I'm like a monk. I say it because without God's help, I'm just so selfish.
Right.
But if
Amen
you
to
can
that.
go, God, help me in this time. Let me just meet people, see how I can serve them,
Right.
and good things come.
And to direct you to the right people.
Yeah, yeah,
That's really important.
that's really great. Now, I want to springboard from there because I want to springboard to a topic of just personal branding, because
Okay.
that was something I just, even from a distance, just looking at your profiles, looking at your stuff online, um, I don't see a man in Germaine where it's been an accident. Like I see a guy who's very intentional.
Oh
And
yeah.
one of my favorite quotes from one of my mentors, he says, "Impress from a distance, impact up close." And
I like it.
it's a way homer, but man, it
Yeah.
really, now the order of the operations sometimes depends on the situation.
Hmm.
But I just wondered what kind of your thoughts were on personal branding for someone who's out there who doesn't even maybe know what that means. Talk about that. What is personal branding, and how does it manifest in your life?
Well, branding to me is basically what you want people to remember the most about you, um, when they hear your name or see your face. Uh, there's something that needs to trigger inside of them to say, okay, this person is about this. This person is about that. And when you can build that memory in those particular people, then when they come across someone else, or something else that's going on that may need someone like you, they can refer you, and that itself produces more opportunities. When you look at some of the biggest corporations and the biggest brands around the world, you can name some of the names, and people can automatically, they remember a certain feeling that they had when they heard that particular brand name, or they remember a logo, or a slogan. So to me, branding is crucial. I think some of the best ways and to take your brand to the next level is to be observant. I find myself constantly studying the best of the best, the biggest brands, the biggest corporations, some of the most successful people in the world. If you pay attention to the way others have mastered branding and take notes, then you can pretty much figure out a way and a guide to build your own brand.
There's some parts of that that are pretty obvious. Like, especially like right now, I'll go to the most obvious. This isn't a political endorsement or anything, but you say with Donald Trump, essentially his business is branding, right? He started out as a real estate developer, didn't go so well. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but anyway, but he's been a master of licensing his brand. And with that, you start getting into like some color theory. So his brand, it's always gold on black. And so, I'm not an expert in color theory, but for any designer like 101, like even in the logo for TaiSpeak, I use blue and orange. So I'm trying to communicate trust on one side with the blue, and I'm trying to communicate creativity with the orange and excitement. So there's a little bit of intentionality. And then even with the fonts, I only use 2 fonts is the maximum I'll use.
Right.
And then even in the photography, that becomes really important. So I think a lot of times, even when people can see that for a company, like you can look at Apple and go, okay, their website leaves me feeling a certain way.
Right.
And I feel the same way when I leave their store. And every interaction, I feel the same way when I work on one of their devices. The branding is so intentional, and we can see it and feel it for a company, but a lot of times it's really hard to do surgery on ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to just your personal brand, there's your online presence, and there's the way people feel there. But what's your feeling just when it comes to how would you counsel an 18-year-old when it comes to just their appearance, when it comes to the photography, when it comes to those kind of impressions? How would you advise someone in being intentional but also being authentic?
Well, first and foremost, it depends on what you're representing. If you're like an artist, or if you are an entrepreneur, if you're a painter, it depends on what you're representing. And the things have totally changed with technology these days. Everything has changed as far as branding. Like, for example, some people would do like the shirt and tie if they're an entrepreneur, if they're a business owner. I have a client, a celebrity client. He goes by the name of Hip Hop Gamer. He's what you call a video journalist, and he's flown into LA to do like red carpet for the BET Awards. He has Verizon flying him in to host video game tournaments and so forth. I've been trying to get him to do the shirt and tie thing for a long time, but he won't. So he shows up in his shirt and his jeans and his cap turned backwards, simply because his market, what he represents, is gamers. And these most gamers don't dress up. Most gamers don't do this or that. So in my opinion, as far as your personal brand, it depends on what you are representing. If you are representing something, and your market and your audience requires you to dress a certain way, then you should dress that certain way. But like I said, everything has changed. You have people who have brands and YouTube channels with 20 million views who do videos from their bedroom in their pajamas, and they have corporate sponsors sending them millions of dollars just to mention them. So things have changed. It totally depends on what you represent.
I think just like with networking, I think there was some great advice hidden in there of like knowing the industry that you're going to work in, where obviously, I had a rude adjustment to the business world from the world of music, where I got invited for a meeting and actually to help with the board and with the startup thing. And they were having it at Cherokee Country Club, right? But just in the, it was just like on the, just a boardroom meeting. I was just thinking it's the venue. And so here I was working in a marketing agency. So I was wearing jeans and a sports jacket, and I was like the most dressed up person in my office. Because my office, was t-shirts and shorts and very casual, creative community. And certainly coming from music, You know, it was very casual. And so I thought I was kind of dressed up, and I walked in and got denied entry because I didn't
Oh
have
man.
the slacks on.
Yeah.
So kind of a humbling experience,
Absolutely.
embarrassing, but it's certainly, I'd certainly resolved like, okay, that's only going to happen to me once.
Once, yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
You know, the problem is if you let that happen to you multiple times.
Right.
And so I think there's like being aware of your
You got
environment.
to be aware. You got to be
Um,
observant.
and I think, you know, something that I feel, I'd love your take, is like when I go to, because I've seen pictures like from your event, and it's like everyone's, you know, to the nines, right? It's like dressed nice,
Yeah.
but I just think you can't go wrong if you like think about the industry, you kind
Hmm.
of look at like the mean dress, you
Hmm.
know, you really can't go wrong if you go 20% higher. If you
You
just go,
can't.
no
You
matter
can't go
what,
wrong. Yeah.
you know, because you can always, you know, hey, if you're wearing the tie, you can always
Always
take
take
it
it
off,
off. Yeah.
and you got a sport. But if
Yeah.
you show up and a t-shirt and shorts, it's a pretty bad feeling if you feel like, man, I'm just not dressed for the occasion, and I'm projecting a lack of seriousness.
Yeah, you really can't go wrong with a shirt and tie. But as far as you know, there are a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of multimillionaires, especially a lot of young people who become really successful who've never worn a shirt or a tie or a suit. So it definitely depends on your market, your audience, and what you represent. You know, as far as right now, social media has changed. Social media has changed everything. Technology has changed absolutely everything.
Yeah, well, I want to transition there, talking about social media, as someone that, um, you know, you really use these online platforms to
Hmm.
communicate to the world. You know, you're using them to promote the events that you participate in, but also you're using it just on your personal site.
Hmm.
Um, you're doing something that I haven't done it at all, but it seems like you're really doing it effectively, and I really enjoyed it, which is your video blogs,
Okay.
your vlogs. So kind of maybe talk about that, because I've seen kind of a theme that runs through it, that maybe sometimes is a little bit different than some of the other mediums, you know, that you communicate on. So maybe talk about the video blog, what goes into that, and what you achieve with it.
Well, yeah, I actually I just started that recently. I was advised to do it actually, um, to help benefit my speaking career. But what I found was people were resonating with the videos. I'm no longer doing these videos to help or to launch my speaking career. I'm doing it because I really have something to say, and people are really getting something out of it. So one thing that I think is obvious to the entire world is there's a lack of leadership, and I believe when God gives you something to say, and when He gives you a platform, you have to use whatever you can to do that, and that's the main thing about my vlogs right now. I get on because I receive something to say, and I have something to say. People respond, and it's changing people's lives. So I do the vlogs to help people right now. Yeah.
That's great. You're this sort of new media maven, you know, because
Yeah.
you have this, you kind of dive into these new media. So is there something where, depending on the medium, do you find like there's things that are appropriate for one medium that aren't appropriate for other? Is there content that you'd say that you'd share on Facebook, but that you wouldn't share on Twitter? Or do you look at it as just like, no, it's all like, this is my brand, and I'm just using all these other tools just to bring people back to it?
You know, at one point there was a difference between them, and you know, as far as like Facebook and a LinkedIn, there's supposed to be a difference, but I stay true to everything I post on LinkedIn, and it's the same thing I post on Facebook.
Right.
So I just go at it
Yeah.
on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. If I wouldn't post it on LinkedIn, I'm not gonna post it on Facebook.
Hmm.
Yeah.
See, I'm not there yet, in that there's things that, because I like to write a lot of blogs,
Okay.
but I write a lot of blogs. Like I just wrote a blog over this weekend, and it's about my son's football team,
Hmm.
and it's about this. So I'll turn that into a business lesson later, because
Hmm.
there's a huge lesson of about what can feel like failure, and how to move on from it. But when I'm just sharing about my family, my
Oh yeah,
in heart
for
stuff like
sure.
that. I go, okay, this is meant. It has a place on my blog and for people that like it, but I only share it on Facebook.
Right.
Or maybe on Twitter just to link to it, but like letting people know. But like I'm not going to put that on LinkedIn
Right. I wouldn't do that. Yeah.
because I sort of get frustrated. Here's my biggest frustration with LinkedIn is when I go and there's a beautiful woman who's
Oh.
posting it, who has a picture smiling and says, I just got a new job with whatever, and there's 35,000
Thousand
likes,
likes. Yeah.
and all these things,
That's
and then I'm
happening a
like,
lot.
and I just go like, okay, dudes, you know, this isn't a dating site. Like, are you really that
It's
excited
happening a
about?
lot.
And I just go, where then I'll go to another friend who will post like the keys to the kingdom of successful business.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who could be who is leading a startup that's like the next unicorn, and you see 3 likes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because which, hey, as a marketer, does that brings you back to some like marketing 101 stuff. But I also go, okay, sometimes there's a healthy separation to know this is a business, sort of a business networking site. Here's
Mm-hmm.
sort of more of a personal, and then Twitter, I guess it's just like fair game, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but do you have parameters around, like, to say, because for some people they kind of look at it all as like this is just a personal journey and I'm
Mm-hmm.
sharing it, or do you kind of limit yourself and say, you know what, I'm going to talk about entrepreneurship, networking, faith, and philanthropy, and go, I'm only going to talk about that. As much as I might want to talk about the Falcons, it's a
Mm-hmm.
distraction
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
from my brand.
Exactly, exactly, and that's why I do post the same thing that I on Facebook that I do post on LinkedIn, because it all stays in that area. I don't really go the personal route. I don't talk about family. I don't talk about anything like that on Facebook. All of my messages are to either motivate, inspire, or inform people, whether it's a post or a video. The same thing that I post on Facebook every day. I do a daily wisdom for today. I posted on LinkedIn. So everything stays within the parameter of business success, philanthropy, living a better life. It's the same thing on all my social media.
Hmm. So the agency I worked with, they had a great tool. We would help companies do this, but I think with what you said, it kind of applies to personal brands as well. So for finding your social media voice, we would lead them through an exercise, and we would result in what we called their 4 voices.
Mm-hmm.
And we say these are the 4 things you could talk about. And some people might have a different number, but this is the problem we have with people, with companies, and with people that on social media, is that they are either narcissists. So, and I'm
Yeah.
not making political references again. So they're narcissists where all they do is talk about themselves,
Mm-hmm.
or they're schizophrenic
Mm.
where they just talk about everything, and because of that,
Out of that.
like nothing makes sense.
Right.
So we found 4 to be about that magic number. Some people, like for me, it's hard because I love talking about marketing. I love talking about leadership.
Right.
I love talking about music.
Mm-hmm.
And I love talking about Roswell, my hometown,
Yeah.
and stuff that goes on with that. Now, but I also have 6 kids, and man, it's sure hard to not talk about politics sometime.
I know, right?
But it's hard because I know that, like, I think I'm kind of overdrafting even that trust account with whatever audience I have if I talk about too many things.
Right.
So it can be painful. I'm like, it's really hard for me to cut out, like, I'm not going to talk about my kids, and there's, I think on personal Facebook is different.
Facebook is
Like,
definitely different.
it's definitely different there than even if I have my like fan page where I'm going to be posting more business stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that separation, but I think a lot of people struggle with that because they almost have sort of in both the narcissism, if they're just, you see this with artists, like, here's my latest CD, buy my latest CD, buy my latest CD, buy my latest CD. I'm like, I'm not following you anymore. I'm done. Right. Or
I don't think anybody really knows what to post. We just, just go for it.
Well, I think this is a good tool for people. Like, even, I've helped some young artists, like, okay, one of the things you want to talk about is obviously your career, and you want to use it as a tool to let people know what you're doing, how they can connect. But I think where artists they can fall into that narcissist category
Really
where I
easy.
go like, hey, what's the cause you care about?
Right.
And if you're going to talk about sports, make it one sports team, or at least you can maybe get away with saying, I'm going to talk about Atlanta sports. Make it about one city. So if someone wants to say, so a recording artist in Atlanta, man, I'm going to use social media I'll comment on Atlanta sports. I want to talk about children's healthcare of Atlanta. I want to talk about my music career and how they can connect. And I want to share inspiration for my faith.
Right.
Like, I think that's like a good balance where I'd be interested to follow that person.
Yeah, me
and
too.
kind of follow them on that journey. I think artists struggle with that. They go right to the same way we talked about with networking. They use it as this desperation. How do I build my audience? How do I build my audience? We'll start by stop trying to sell me all the time.
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
why don't you use it to serve me? Why don't you do a video blog once a day with a great song that I can enjoy that doesn't cost me anything? Why don't and I think there's great examples of that, and I think like Taylor Swift is a great example. She does social media right.
Yeah, she does.
And she
uses
it just as much to amplify other people as she does to amplify herself.
But that's the key.
But now with what she's built, and I know she's the extreme outlier. I mean, we saw just this last week on a single tweet was her marketing campaign, and a new single went to #1 on 30 different iTunes charts around the world. That's insane. On the power of a single tweet. Now, granted, that's a single tweet from Taylor Swift, but she's built that equity. She's put those, because how many times has Taylor Swift, stopped on the side of the road to get out and take pictures with a fan?
That's what it's all about. Giving to it's called the power of inclusion. And when you show people that they matter, and you give people something from what you're putting out, and not just always trying to sell them something, then they respect you, they support you, and they promote you. And I think that's why Taylor
say that one more time, because that's really good.
They respect you, they support you, and then they promote you. And that's one of the keys I've had with my book 50 Seats of Greatness, and my upcoming books, where I invite the entire world to be a part of them. And it's called the power of inclusion. It's a really powerful thing when you include people. First of all, everybody wants to be a part of something greater than themselves, something really, really big. And when you include them, they will go all out to make sure you're taken care of. And it's free marketing. It's free promotion. I haven't spent one dime on any marketing or advertising ever. I just include the world on my books. My latest book, we have 106 countries contributed to the book. The book is selling in 106 countries, and the people that contributed to it, they promote it. So it's pretty cool.
I think you've hit on a powerful marketing strategy right there. That power of inclusion, the rule of inclusion.
That's it.
So power seems to be a theme for you right now, because you're working on a brand new book project called The Power of a Black Man. Tell everyone about that book.
Well, we've just started. Actually, the only thing I've done so far on the book is release a promo on it, and as a promo post. We actually start developing the book in late January, but we've had 4,000 or 5,000 people around the world, every single country, wherever there's a black man, they've responded. And as far as the purpose of this book is just to encourage. It has nothing. It honestly has nothing to do with racism or anything like that. This book is about empowering people to be greater, to do more in the world. And so what I'm going to do with the Power of Black Man is just share some of the inventions, some of the creations, some of the things that black men have contributed to the world. And the reason I want to do this is because I never really learned this in school. Mm-hmm. And I want to give people, it's going to be a 2-part book, and it's just going to release all this valuable information that I never learned. And it's empowered me to be who I am today, to actually want to change the world and to actually include the world in what I have no desire of any type of, I have no prejudice, no racism bone in my body. I'm all about bringing the world together.
So let me give you a taste of what's to come.
Okay.
And this will be good practice, if nothing else. So what the trolls are going to say.
Oh, they're already saying it.
They're already, okay,
Yeah.
good. Well, then you're already
They are
free.
coming
'Cause
at me
you
like
just see it coming,
crazy.
they go, well, why do you have to make this about black men?
Why is it? Yeah.
And
They are good.
so just address that. Even like, because,
Why?
you
Okay.
know, aren't you making it about race by saying black men?
Well, I think the reason I decided to make it about black men, first of all, because I'm a black man, and if you are a black man, and if you have to live the life as a black man to understand why I'm writing the book. It's simply because there's in our community, in our particular race, there's a lot of lack as far as information, especially in the past. And this book is just revealing that information to empower people, and that's why it's about black men, because I think we in a sense we haven't known a lot about what we've contributed. It's not like I think a lot of people, you have to go to one of the historic black colleges to really find information on exactly what we've contributed to society and the lives we've changed and how much we've helped the world.
Mm-hmm.
And this book is just saying, okay, let's go mainstream with it. You don't have to go to an historic black college to find this out. We're going to put it out there. And with this information, it's going to let you know, now you can do more with your life now that you know this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the book is all about.
And I think too, what my answer would be to those critics would be, because, and I can say this in a way that you can't. I go, white people, let's get real. What do you guys all say around Thanksgiving when the uncle comes out? You say, black people need better role models. They don't just need athletes and actors.
That's what this book is about.
Well,
role models.
The reality is
it.
that they're out there, but the media doesn't talk about them.
That's
the
exactly
media
it.
keeps playing the same narrative over and over again, and
Right.
only turns the spotlight on
the athletes.
You don't see them talking to
rappers and all
to a dentist or the medical doctor or to the CEO of a company or
presidents,
or president. So I commend you. I'm excited about that project.
I'm so excited, Tai. It's really a big deal. And I have I have a lot of white people, Asian people, everybody has submitted to be a part of this book.
Mm-hmm. The one thing you say I take issue with, but people just aren't ready for it, is we're actually all one human race.
That's it.
But saying that, I want to celebrate different cultures.
Yeah.
It's that gift that you get from travel. It's that gift you get when you go experience other cultures. And,
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And it really is.
And it's a gift that's like, I'd encourage anyone where when you go experience that, your life is richer for it.
Absolutely.
When you step out of your comfort zone, get to know other people. So, man, thanks for your work on that. I'm excited about it.
I'm stoked about it.
I want to know, just even in that spirit, as you're collecting these stories, who is a leader? Who's someone that's had an impact on you? Who's been a mentor for you? Who's shaped you? Who's helped just plant this seed in you?
There's so many people. First and foremost, as far as my work ethic, because it takes 7 days a week to do this stuff. My mom, she has a tremendous work ethic. I'm inspired by Mother Teresa. I'm inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King. I'm inspired by Nikola Tesla. I'm inspired by George Washington Carver. I'm just a compilation of so many greats that have walked before me. Even those biblical characters. There's so many people. Mandela. I love Bill and Melinda Gates. The amazing things they're doing around the world with those billions of dollars. They are really putting that money to work. Michael Jackson. I can't forget Michael. Whether you respect the man or not, he had an emotional and spiritual connection with people that inspired people. And anyone who lives that life of joy and hope, because that's actually the most successful branding you could ever do and have. Joy and hope. Just Christ himself. He is the ultimate marketer. He is the ultimate brander. It was hope. Apart from salvation, it was hope that made him global and still known to this day. Joy and hope. Like I said, anyone who lived that life of joy and hope and promotes that, I'm inspired by them.